He should have known not to mess with the Viff, right?
I heard the school of Viffer is sort of like Hogwarts for poker players. I have that neck tattoo to get in. The school of Viffer prepares you well for the real world.
Nobody can beat the Viffer. The only person that can beat the Viffer is Viffer himself.
First flop of the night, King 7 deuce, top pair for Viffer. Raheem checks. Viffer fires 2,000.
Rick's reaching for chips. He's either going to call or raise with no pair, no draw, and a weak ace high. Neither one is really recommended.
Raises to 7,000. Viffer quickly calls.
It's the first hand. We've already seen our first sicko bluff.
Check in the dark.
Rick has checked in the dark. The turn, the 5 of spades.
Sleep in the park.
Viffer checks.
That's a new one for me, too.
8 of spades on the river. Raheem bets 15,000.
5 does have some showdown value, but this is a very loose bluff.
Viffer calls.
You're gonna win. I got ace high. Nice hand.
Love that King 9, huh?
What am I supposed to do? I can't help it.
Supposed to win the pot.
Action folds to the loose cannon. Ace queen suited in the small blind. Just calls, as does Viffer. 3 to the flop, which is deuce 9-7. Everybody whiffs. Howard checks. Viffer bets 2,500.
Antonio does have 2 overs, only a king high right now. Seems like he might not believe Viffer.
Or maybe he
I
does.
should have raised. I know I had you murdered pre-flop.
Troy folds and shows.
What'd you show?
Ace, queen of spade.
Troy had him murdered pre-flop and on the flop.
Viffer, king 8 suited. Raises to 1,200. Queen deuce.
I don't even want to call with this hand.
I don't blame you. I wouldn't want you to call either.
Rick did call.
I'm gonna check in the dark.
All right, I'm gonna check in the dark.
Really?
Rick's being playful, but he is giving away information about his hand.
Both have checked in the dark. 4, 9, 10, 2 diamonds.
That's gotta be me.
I haven't looked at my hand yet, so I
Yeah,
wouldn't
all right,
know.
I'll check in the dark.
Rick checked. Jack of diamonds on the turn.
I don't want to sleep in the park.
Viffer bets 2
I got a
grand.
diamond. I got no diamond, and I don't have any of that.
And Raheem folds.
Just the one we're supposed to go. You said all in without looking.
Is that binding? You said all in, right?
No, he said all in without looking.
Is that binding? Because I think I heard him say it.
I heard him say it.
There they go.
I heard him.
All right. Well, let me see what the river is, and then I'll tell you if it's binding or not. Yeah.
Troy calls.
Don't try it.
I gotta look.
You ain't gotta look. You don't have to. There's no.
King queen suited for Viffer.
We got a long day ahead of us. We gotta keep it interesting.
Raises to 2,800. And Troy calls.
Please punish him, Troy.
I'm about to raise him no matter what the flop is. Let me get something.
Is that a promise?
No, it's not, it's binding if I say that. You know.
Well, you did say it.
Ace 9-7.
Check.
Rick's working the needle angle on Troy.
Wow.
Viffer bets 5,000.
I don't think he's gonna let a rookie push him around. That's what he was saying in the men's room.
Yeah, I'm
earlier.
not a rookie though.
No, he's not a rookie. I give him that.
Not a rookie. I grind harder than you guys do. Trust me.
Viffer wins the pot. Queen 10 suited. Antonio limps in. Rick Raheem's along for the ride. So's the loose cannon.
Run him.
With 3 high.
Wow.
Give me. I called that 400.
Friendly pot.
We'll give you your cards back for 600, Chow.
Yes, for sure. I will play for 600.
Nearly a family pot. 6-7-6 on the flop. Viffer checks. So's Barry. Same for the Magician. Raheem as well. Everybody checks. 5 of diamonds on the turn.
Viffer still got the best hand with a pair of 7s, and he's picked up an open-ended straight flush draw.
Viffer bet 1,500. And everybody
Thought
folds.
this was your double up hand.
It could have been.
So sexy. This is sexy. Now this is a very, very sexy hand.
6-7?
7-4 diamonds.
Now that is sexy. Wow, that's sexier than your unbuttoned shirt.
That's beautiful. Turn 12.
Viffer, king 4 suited. Raises to 2,400. Barry folds. Antonio, ace, queen.
Antonio's trying to decide whether he wants to call or raise. Viffer is a loose player, and he raised from the cutoff, which means his range includes lots of hands that are worse than ace-queen.
Antonio re-raises to 9,000. Chow folds. Rick Rahim. Ace-6 offsuit.
With a raise and a re-raise, this would be a very loose call.
Rick folds. Action back to Viffer.
Viffer's got position, and he might be thinking that he can push Antonio off certain hands on the flop.
Viffer calls.
Bit of a loose call from Viffer, but he's done well with suited kings earlier in the session.
The flop, 9 king queen, top pair for Viffer, middle pair for Esfandiari. Antonio checks. Viffer checks.
Both players playing a bit cautiously now.
5 of diamonds on the turn. Antonio checks again,
Viffer's probably pretty confident he has the best hand at this point.
but he checks. Board pairs on the river.
With the way the action's gone, Antonio may think his queen is good.
Antonio checks. Viffer fires 15,000.
It's a pot-sized bet here in the river. Looks like Antonio was maybe expecting a check behind. Size of the bet is confusing because the play was passive up to this point. Now Viffer's showing a lot of strength.
I feel like you got there, Viff.
9-ball, corner pocket.
Feels like it. It really does.
Antonio's wondering if all the checking allowed Viffer to catch a third 9.
It's amazing. You know what I have.
You have 2 jacks?
Viffer's a little off, but still putting Antonio on a hand he can beat. The school of Viffer says bet, 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 so it might be tough for Antonio to give him credit for having a hand.
You have a king, huh?
Do I need a king?
Antonio calls.
Somehow Viffer's talked Antonio into making the call. Very nice value bet from the Viff. The school of Viffer prepares you well for the real world.
For the loose cannon, on the wrong side of things right now. Limps in. Viffer calls. Barry's in as well. Antonio on the button. Calls.
I could raise the whole field. Let's go.
I hope I have a raising hand. Pretty good.
Rick's actually got the best hand for the moment.
All right.
Bach.
Rick checks his option.
I'm pretty sure I have the
That
best
was like
hand.
false advertising.
I'm pretty sure I have the best hand. If he had folded, I'm raising.
That's how strong Chow's calling them small blind. Chow in the small blind scares everyone.
Family pot to the flop, which is 8 tray king. Chow checks. Bottom pair.
I'll take a shot. 25.
Middle pair for Rick. Fires 2,500. Loose cannon folds.
Any raggedy king? King 3 or king 8 this time?
I have a good king this time.
Do you?
A good king.
Oh, then maybe I can beat you.
Viffer calls with top pair. Action folds to
You have
Chow.
a bad king?
He folds.
Well, that's good. That means he probably won't hit his 3rd king.
Viffer does have a good king this time. Rick's looking for an ace and 8 or running clubs.
Instead sees a 4.
That'll slow me down.
Rick checks.
I either got there or I'm scared that you got there.
Viffer checks.
This isn't true. You were already there.
5 of spades on the river.
I'm pretty sure I got the best hand.
Don't these guys know they're supposed to keep their hands a secret?
All right, let's try 6,000.
Rick bets 6,000. Viffer calls the bluff.
No spade, you win. King what? King of spades? No, king of spades is out there. King 10. You call with no spade? I am so outclassed here.
Not only did he call him, he beat him into the pot.
And Viffer wins 20 grand. Viffer straddles, so action on Barry, ace-9 suited. Raised to 2,500. Action folds to the loose cannon. Ace-9 suited as well.
Decent hand, and we know Troy likes to defend his big blind.
He does so by calling. Oh, pocket kings for Viffer.
Pretty lucky to wake up with 2 kings in the straddle.
Raises to 10 grand.
Regardless of whether he has a hand or not, this is a squeeze play. And Viffer is capable of squeezing with far worse than 2 kings. Barry's trying to figure out how often he'd do it with a hand worse than ace-9.
Barry figured it out and folded. So's the loose cannon.
This is your show, Tipper.
My show? See, any kings will do, but 2 of them are better.
Can't do a lot of talking when you ain't catching a lot of hands, you know? You gotta think a little bit. Try to outplay these fish.
You think Troy's life story would be called Pocket 8 Mile?
M&M's coming up next week. Viffer is raised to 2,500.
2 double ups, you'll get 1.
Suited connectors for Chow, who's on a winning streak in the big blind, but he gets rid of it.
Decides to tighten up again.
I just want you to know I'm too dumb to fold. I'm going to defend my straddle every time.
Good news.
Just so you know. So if you think you're just going to move me off of it, pick another player.
Viffer does not want to move Raheem off.
The flop misses both.
Don't tell me that's a king. Okay.
Rick checks. Viffer checks. Trey on the turn, which would have given Chow a straight.
Raheem's picked up a gut shot.
Go ahead. I'm going to check raise.
Rick checks.
Viffer's ace high, still the best hand.
He fires 3,000.
You need to come from behind, sir.
Rick calls.
You got me beat?
Last night, Rick folded an open ender and an overcard. Now he's calling with just a gut shot.
The river, 7 of diamonds.
Go ahead. I dare you to bet.
Rick checks.
Okay, I check.
Ah, you still win. I got 10 high. I had a lot of outs. None of them came.
All Rick's talking doesn't seem to be doing him any favors.
Here's what I'll do. For the great rap, I'll give you a free roll on the straddle.
Now you can double straddle for
Yeah,
16.
now you can straddle.
I mean, I give one free roll.
9s for Viffer.
And I'll take that. I'm not like him. I'll take that.
You're not like, what's that
No,
supposed to
him.
be? Okay.
He said he would. Barry said he wouldn't take the straddle.
Raised to 2,500. Pocket queens for Antonio.
Last night, Antonio mentioned a fear of commitment. Let's see how he handles these ladies.
A re-raise to 9,500.
Oh, come on, I was calling 2,500.
9,500 is the bet.
Oh, man. I was calling 2,500.
All right.
Raheem folds. The loose cannon.
Deuces are better in here.
Pot it.
Straddled his hand. But he's not going to stick.
You have a lot of money, right?
Both players are deep stacks enough that Viffer's got the right implied odds to call.
And he does. Come on, Antonio. This is exciting. Stay up for it. It's pair versus pair.
I knew you were calling, I would have called.
4, queen, 4. Antonio flops a full house, but the action starts with Viffer. He checks.
Board may not look too scary to Viffer, but he's going to check to the razor.
Antonio fires 14 grand.
14,000.
Antonio's trying to build a pot and wants to make this look like a continuation bet, but it is a very big bet. So Viffer may read this as complete confidence from Antonio, especially since there was the re-raise pre-flop. Viffer has to decide if maybe his 9s were no good to begin with.
Good laydown.
A little misdirection with a smaller bet may have built a bigger pot for the magician.
Raheem is straddled, so the action begins with the loose cannon who folds. Viffer raised to 2,500. Action folds around to Chow Zhang. King Trey suited. Folds. Rick calls.
Easy to look like I'm slowing down when I ain't caught a card in an hour.
Hard to catch cards.
Believe me, when
You only get 2 and they have to be good, you know?
They have to be over a 5, though.
The flop, 7, queen, 7. Rick checks.
Have you looked yet?
Ah, I could easily have a 7, man.
All right.
Viffer checks top pair.
For all we know, I could have queen 7.
Queen 7 would be good.
Raheem's now turned a pair. With Viffer checking the flop, he might think it's the best hand.
This is the patented Greenstein move.
5,500.
Rick fires 5,500.
Greenstein, not to be confused with Greenstein. Totally different guy.
Viffer calls. The river,
Kind of like your hand, you always seem to get the best of me.
deuce of hearts.
Did you raise me with 7 deuce?
Raheem's still reaching for chips with the worst of it.
Makes it 8,000.
Now you have a hand.
It's a defense bet.
All right. See, this is a bad call, actually. I think you have me, but I probably have the best hand.
Yeah, it is. I got a jack.
It's a good call.
You got a queen, you win. Good hand. I can't beat you. I don't know why I try.
Nobody can beat the Viffer. The only person that can beat the Viffer is Viffer himself.
2,000.
Raises to 2,000.
Chow's decided to widen his range on the button.
Rick with ace-8, small blind.
Rick's actually got someone dominated for once.
Calls.
I want him to win a pot, so he'll start straddling. So I'll give him a little money now. These are what you call boomerang chips. I throw them out, but they come back to me eventually.
Crickets on that one.
I know what that's like. Viffer, the straddler, calls. So 3 to the flop.
7 deuce deuce.
How about 5-9 deuce?
Chow's flop top pair.
Check.
Rick checks.
5,000.
Viffer bets 5 grand.
Viffer's trying to steal this with a donk bet. He doesn't put a 9 in Chow's raising range. He might think he can get away with it because Chow's been playing so tight. Chow doesn't seem to be deterred.
Nope, he raises to 12,000.
I knew going in if I didn't nail the flop, I wouldn't have a chance.
Rick's out. So now back to Viffer.
Viffer's trying to figure out what hands Chow could be confident in on this board.
Viffer comes over the top to 30 grand.
3-4.
By raising Viffer's flop bet, Chow opened himself up to the 3-bet.
What is it? 30?
I think I started with 200.
Huh?
Started the hand with 200.
Now you bet.
Chow also seems to not be able to give Viffer credit for a hand on this board either. If Chow does make the call, it'll be for almost 18% of his stack.
21. Okay. Total 30, right?
Chow calls.
Viffer can't like that call. He's got no pair and no draw.
The turn. King of hearts.
Viffer's probably wondering if Chow would fold to a bet on the turn if he called the flop.
Viffer checks.
Checks.
Chow's trying to decide if he should bet, and specifically if he can get Viffer to fold a better hand than his.
All right. You won.
Chow checks. The river, and Viffer hits his queen.
Pretty unlucky for Chow.
Viffer checks.
All right, Chip.
I have a queen.
Queen? I can beat that. I know I tried
You have
to
2
bluff.
aces.
Huh? I know I tried to bluff me. I don't know I check. Queen, right?
Wow.
Viffer wins a pot of nearly $70,000.
Nice river.
No river and no fish.
It has shifted from kings to queens now.
Pretty good read from Chow, just got kind of unlucky on that river.
Viffer, Jack 7 suited. Calls from the big blind. 3 players to this flop. 4, 5, 7, 2 clubs. Viffer checks top pair. Chow checks
Somehow Rick Raheem has managed to flop an open-ended straight draw.
and bets 6,000.
6,000.
Viffer's top pair is still the best hand.
And he quickly calls. Chow folds. Down to the 2 good friends on the turn. Jack of diamonds. Viffer with 2 pair now. He checks. So does Raheem.
Raheem tends to bet when it's checked to him. Viffer was probably hoping for a bet there.
Queen on the river. Viffer's hand still best. Bets 10 grand.
Ah, damn queen, huh?
Wrong read. Right laydown.
Nice attempt at a value bet from Viffer, but we know Rick was beaten by even an 8 high.
I'm not messing with you if there's a king or a queen on the board anywhere.
I would recommend not messing with Viffer if there were ace through deuce on the board.
I will say this. I am a very lucky man.
Pocket 7s for Viffer. Calls. Rick's in.
Call.
Suited connectors for Troy Howard. Checks. 3 to the flop.
Viffer limps with his pair while he's got Rick and the loose cannon involved.
9, Jack 7. Viffer flops a set. Rick checks. Troy checks. And Viffer bets 2,000. Rick folds. The loose cannon calls.
This is a pretty dicey spot for Troy.
Get him, Troy.
He's finally caught a piece of the flop, a pair and a gut shot. He's pretty well crushed unless he hits his gutter ball.
6 of hearts on the turn, and Howard checks.
Troy just picked up a lot more outs. He's now open-ended with a flush draw.
Viffer bets 3,000. Troy quickly calls.
Troy would love to see a free card there. Viffer wants to make sure he pays the draw.
Deuce on the river.
It's the deuce of bricks, actually.
Troy checks. Viffer fires 6,000.
This is a relatively small bet in relation to the size of the pot. It's a value bet. Viffer most certainly wants a call.
And Troy does call and sees the bad news.
Whoops.
Man, that turn was a hell of a turn.
Man, you make some hands.
That's free.
Viffer's happy to keep stacking his chips up.
Pair, a flush draw, and a straight draw, all on the turn. Not that good, though. Nice hand.
Suited connectors for Viffer. Raises to 1,200. Buries out. Antonio, he's been quiet as of late. And will remain so.
Okay.
Chow folds.
I thought we had an agreement.
What's that? If there's a king or queen on the flop, I fold. That's the agreement. You can count on that.
The flop. 5 tray 4.
I can't fold this hand, though.
Rick checks.
Rick's got the best hand with ace high. He also has a gut shot draw.
Viffer bets 1,000.
Isn't that less than you bet on pre-flop?
Rick calls.
Viffer's got a gut shot as well.
Another 4 on the turn.
Raheem picks up a flush draw to go with his ace high.
Somehow I know you're going to beat me again. I'll play small ball with you.
3,000.
Raheem
Okay.
bets 3,000. Quick call from Viffer.
Congratulations. I'm sure you're going to hit the river. Whatever,
No river, no fish.
whatever you may need, I'm sure you're getting there.
10 of spades on the river.
Check.
Rick checks.
5,000.
Viffer bets 5,000.
Raheem's got the best hand. Tough for him to know that, though.
I don't know how I can miss every draw I've had tonight. I fold. Nut flush draw, straight draw, everything.
Man, like I would never pass so easy for you. This game, Tipper. Easy game for you.
Hey, listen,
I
when
flop
this
a
is
set every time.
Show me. I don't believe you. It doesn't matter if you had 2 pair or set 1 pair. I was either going to beat you or I wasn't.
Troy, king 6 suited. Calls. Ace queen suited for Viffer, who raises to 2,800.
Don't have a choice. Yeah, he's got 9-7.
Suited.
Yeah, that is true.
Viffer suited, but it's a little better than 7-9. Standard call from Troy, but up against one other opponent. Probably not so bad if he had raised a suited king in the first place. Just saying.
10, 4, 8, 2 diamonds on the flop.
Check.
Total airball for Troy.
Goes check, bet by Viffer, and fold by Howard.
He said, "Don't pick on the guy. Don't raise him." And then boom, he got limp.
Barry, well, you would have raised him with that hand.
That was his road right there. You know, 10-8. He got 9. I said he got 9-7.
I'm gonna bet you anybody at the table would have raised you with that hand.
The loose cannon looking at Jack 4 and folding. Viffer, suited connectors. Raised to 1,200. Barry folds. King Jack offsuit for the Magician. Calls. Chow folds. And Rick, King 7. Of course he's in.
My 2 favorite players.
Oh, thank you, dear.
Tender
I love
moment.
you too.
This is getting sweet. 7 queen ace, 2 clubs on the flop.
Despite being dominated, Raheem flops the best hand.
And checks over to Viffer, who has a flush draw and bets 3,000.
Even though he's behind, Viffer's the slight favorite with his pair and flush draw.
Esfandiari calls with a gut shot. Raheem folds.
Rick finally folds a flop, and he's got the best hand.
The turn, the 9 of diamonds. Viffer checks. Esfandiari checks.
Check, check for pot control.
5 of clubs on the river, giving Viffer a flush.
Viffer has made his flush, but it'll probably be tough for him to get any value from it.
He bets 8,000.
Maybe a little Hollywooding here from Antonio. He knows he can't call.
And he folds. So Viffer picks up another nice little pot. And overall, Joe, he's the man at this table.
That's right. He's at his peak right now. He's up over 145,000. He's
Barry Greenstein straddles, so action on Antonio with pocket aces.
always nice to wake up with 2 pieces of ace.
Raised to 2,400. Chow folds. 9 high for Rick Raheem. On the button, folds.
I'm amazed.
Not my kind of hands, just my kind of game.
8-7 offsuit. The loose cannon's out. Queen, queen, uh-oh.
Viffer could get in some real trouble here.
Just calls, and Barry folds.
Does anyone else feel it getting cold in here?
The flop. Queen, deuce, 9. Viffer flops a set.
This was going to be a cold deck either way, but this is just ice cold.
And he slow plays it. Checks over to Esfandiari.
Antonio's in a very tough spot. Impossible to know he's beat right now.
Bets 3,400.
Viffer's in a great spot. He's got the nuts right now.
Comes over the top to 10 grand.
Very difficult to get away from this hand. There just aren't a lot of ways to be beaten, and there are a lot of draws out there that Viffer could be betting. Since Antonio has the ace of hearts, he knows Viffer isn't on the nut flush draw. That may help him a little, but even still, it's tough to get away from a hand like this, especially against an aggressive player like Viffer.
Antonio re-raises to $28,000.
It's pretty understandable to not be able to fold there, but by raising, you're only giving your opponent 2 options, fold or shove on you. If you're ahead, you don't want him to fold, and if you're behind, you don't want him to shove.
Viffer shoves.
Oh, it's so sick.
Antonio probably has a pretty good idea he's beat now. It's been over 90,000 put in on this flop when there was only 7K to begin with. Pretty tough to imagine now that one pair would be good, but Antonio may feel as if he's pot committed.
This would be for the rest of Antonio's stack.
Viffy, Viffy, Viffy. Probably got me, you know? But I'm pretty tilted and steamed.
Antonio calls.
Want to run it twice?
Whatever you want.
We'll run it twice.
Deal.
I have 3 queens.
God, you just own me, Viff. You really do.
Looks like the magician's about to get the rabbit pulled out of his hat.
So they've agreed to run it 2 times. We will see the turn and the river twice, each time playing for half the pot.
Antonio's apparently agreed with himself to not show his aces to the table.
Jack on the turn.
Chow folded an ace, so you can see Antonio's got 1 out singular.
The first river card. 3 of clubs. Viffer wins half the pot.
Oh, I think I'm gonna quit. Oh. It's not your day, it's not your day. Right, Chow Chow?
Yeah. Me and you and
It's not your day,
Sambo.
it's not my day. I think it's time for me to go.
Me and you, Sambo. That's exactly what I'm thinking.
Do you have outs?
I definitely have outs.
Run number 2, 10 of hearts.
It's a very good card for me.
Antonio can hit hearts now.
Looking for outs, that can't be too bad.
Do you have the flush?
It's a very good card.
The river. Antonio is saved.
Ship it.
He's still here.
Oh my God.
I don't want you to leave here.
Oh my God, I'm staying. I was about to quit.
Wow.
Viffer with big slick.
I only tell the truth. That's why you should never believe me.
Raise.
Announces a raise. There's the call.
This is gonna be fun.
It's the first hand of the night. We've already got a 4-bet. Let's see how much he makes it.
Raises to 12,400.
I'm not believe you, believe him.
Can't raise 10.
Can't raise.
Okay. I believe
6,
one of them haven't beat.
Chow folds.
82.
Viffer tried to raise for more than the pot. We're pot limit pre-flop here, so we can only raise the 12-4.
I'm pretty sure I was folding either way.
Chow folded a better hand than Rick is thinking about calling with.
And the funny thing is, I would have flopped the set this time. I had a baby pair. I had him beat.
You haven't beat?
Yeah, I had you beat.
Yeah.
Raheem folds.
I'm probably ahead of you, too.
You were.
But you're a better player. I wouldn't know how to play you after the flop. I just
You could have flopped it.
Yeah, Jack 9.
Rick calls Antonio's raise.
Raheem announces a steam raise and just calls with a pretty decent hand.
Itty bitty pocket pair for Troy. Calls. Viffer on the straddle.
I call.
Calls.
Viffer's let Antonio have enough of Rick's money. He's tagging back in.
King queen was okay, you know. I mean, then
The flop, 6 jack 10, 2 diamonds.
Raheem has top pair with jacks.
2,000.
Rick leads out, betting 2,000. Troy folds. Viffer with a flush draw.
Viffer's behind, but he has got a lot of outs. He might be thinking about a semi-bluff raise.
No raise, just a call. Antonio folds his gut shot. 10 on the turn.
Raheem's still got the best hand with a pair of jacks.
5,000.
Bets 5,000.
10's not a good card for Viffer, but how could he ever fold to Raheem?
He can't. He calls.
Queen high might be good sometimes against Raheem in that spot.
4 of hearts on the river.
Wow. You have my number every time.
Viffer bricks the river. He can only win it with a bluff. Let's see if Raheem opens the door for him to do it.
I bet enough so you know that you can't raise me off the hand.
He doesn't open the door. Bets 15,000.
Raheem's announced his intentions. Let's see if Viffer tries to bluff him off anyway.
I pre-call if you want to raise me. I call in the dark.
All right.
Viffer folds.
Oh. Hey, remember this hand because you're going to hate getting bluffed when you see it on TV.
Antonio looking at the smallest pocket pair you can have. And a raise to 2,000.
Little baby deuces, they're cute.
Chow, pocket sixes, and folds.
Mama always said play the rush. Try to go for 2 in a row.
Rick calls, 5 high. Troy folds. Viffer calls. And Barry calls.
Maybe Chow just knew Barry was going to wake up with 7s.
I won't. I don't.
Maybe he's just telepathic.
Even still, a very tight laydown from Chow.
You're a wise, wise man.
Queen 7-4. Barry flops a set.
Big hand for Barry.
Viffer has a flush draw and checks. Barry checks. Antonio checks. Raheem checks. Another 7 on the turn and quads for Greenstein.
Barry's now going to want as much money going into this pot as possible, no matter what cards come.
Viffer leads out, betting 6 grand.
Barry's happy Viffer's doing the work for him. Even though he doesn't look terribly happy, he is.
That's Barry's happy face.
I think you're versed in mumbling.
And Barry makes the smooth call. Antonio folds. And Rick's out too.
No, you're a gentleman.
By just calling, Barry was hoping Antonio or Rick might come along for the ride.
Jack of clubs on the river.
Viffer dodged a bullet, believe it or not, by not making his hand.
Still leads out, betting 15,000.
Barry's got to make an attempt at a value raise, but we know Viffer can't make the call.
Barry raises to 65 grand and a quick fold.
One last time for the cameras, but yes, Barry, you do have to give him back.
Rick is straddling this hand.
I really recommend that you restraddle here. I mean, you're stuck anyway. You can always walk away from the 16 if it doesn't work out. 1,600 isn't going to make the difference for you. You're either going to double up or, you know, you need to start playing hands.
Can I straddle or is it too late?
You can straddle. You haven't looked.
I don't know. That's the table.
Yeah, we're all fine with it, I'm pretty sure.
Nobody objects, I promise you.
Rick's the devil on his shoulder.
Viffer pre-calls, and there's the official double straddle.
I wanted to anyway. I just hadn't.
Action folds over to Chow, who's out as well. And now Rick, the original straddler.
Rick's the devil on Troy's shoulder. He's the devil wearing nada right now.
He calls. Ooh, pocket queens for Troy.
Troy can wait till after the hand to thank Rick. This is the monster he's been waiting for.
We're the 2 loosest players. We'll call you. It's not a problem.
If I push, will you call me?
You can't. All you can do is pot it.
Troy does seem a little nervous.
76 would be pot.
Pot.
Total 76.
Troy raises pot.
Full pot.
Viffer calls.
This is a very loose call from Viffer, especially considering Troy's yet to put this much money in pre-flop all week.
You were supposed to fold so I could repot him.
If you raise, I'll re-raise, and then he'll fold.
That's collusion. You can't say that. But A for effort. I'm gonna fold and just get out of the way. I'll sit on this stack. I just got these chips. I'm gonna warm them up for a hand or two.
So down to 2 on the flop, including our loose cannon.
Troy's in very good shape to end up with the winning hand.
5-4-5 on the flop.
Safe flop for Troy. A bet here would probably take it down.
No bet, a check. So does Viffer.
Troy's trying to disguise the strength of his hand.
Ace of spades on the turn.
This might be a scare card for Troy.
10,000.
Fires 10,000.
Maybe he remembered that Viffer limp called pre-flop, and he probably wouldn't have done that with an ace.
Viffer drawing dead at this point.
Looks like he's up to something.
I should have left.
50 or 60.
Viffer calls.
Makes the call drawing dead. He's clearly on a pure float, which means he may try to steal this pot from Troy on the river.
The river is the 3 of spades. Troy bets 10,000 again.
This is only a third of the pot. Viffer may read it as weak.
10,000.
I'm all in.
Viffer shoves.
Did you hear
All
that?
in.
Did you hear that
2-2 and all
suction?
10,000.
The loose cannon's been put to a decision for all of his chips, and he looks just sick about it.
Somebody call wardrobe. We're gonna need a new pair of drawers.
If the ace scared Troy, he should have wanted to get to showdown as cheaply as possible. Betting was not the way to do that. Now there's a lot out there to worry about. An ace, a 5, a deuce, they all beat Troy.
If Troy makes the call, he will have a profit of more than 64 grand and be the leading loose cannon.
But can he pull the trigger?
He cannot.
I would never bluff you, sir.
Nice hand, sir. Nice hand.
Viffer ripped Troy's heart out, and then he showed it to him. Brutal.
Ouch.
That is ouch.
That hurt.
That hurt.
That hurt so much. My.
Nice hand. God.
Oh my God. Very. Relax. Only 2 more hands. You can go home in just a minute.
A raise to 5,100.
Is that a call?
5,100. That's the raise.
I'm sorry. How much?
51.
Oh, total 5,100. Oh man. All right.
You're calling money bags. Come on.
Rick on the straddle, suited. Calls.
Calls.
You're right, Joe.
Was there any doubt?
Viffer on the double straddle, suited connectors, also makes the call.
5,100.
That's the man Rick just said calm down to.
3 players.
The flop. 9-8-7.
Action flop. Viffer's flopped a straight. Rick's got top pair and an open ender.
Check.
Check.
Rick checks. Viffer checks.
Barry's got 1 overcard and an open ender as well to the high end, but 2 of his outs are gone.
Barry bets 9,000.
There's a lot going on here. We could see a lot of money headed for the middle. Wouldn't expect Rick to fold top pair and an open ender.
He's measuring out a raise. To 29,000.
Viffer's got the made straight. Let's see what he does.
100,000.
I'm all in.
Viffer shoves all in. Barry folds.
Rick's done the heavy lifting for Viffer and built this pot up nicely.
You might just get the call. I got top pair open-ended.
Viffer's got a straight, but it's the low end and susceptible to redraw.
How much you got?
100 and 10, 20, about 130 more.
At least 2 of Rick's outs are gone.
Wow.
Rick's played over 100 hands this week to grind out a profit of over 100,000 at the start of this hand. If he makes the call and loses, he'll be down over 100,000.
How sick. Second to last hand. You are making such a move. If I fold, you show me?
I never answer that question in the middle of the hand.
Yeah, but you never play with me, so that rule doesn't count. I'm telling you, if you say I'll show you, I promise I fold. That's binding. So there's no risk to you in divulging information.
I could never answer that question. Barry, would you explain to him why, especially after now? Like,
No, I don't want to
if I say that, then that means that like I want you to call, right? If I say that I'll show you, then I could automatically take the pot. It's like a really bad position for yourself. It would be me taking advantage of you.
I'm folding anyway. I just want to know what you have.
Oh, well, then that's the case. I'll show you.
Rick gives it
I
up.
really had 6-7, 6-9 there. I had top pair, open-ended.
You'll see it anyways.
Yeah. What do you have?
6-5.
Bottom end of it. Yeah.
5-6 of hearts.
Good fold.
6.
Final hand of the week gets going with Barry. Jack-6 offsuit, and he's done.
Nice hand. You
Ike.
played it right.
What's the last hand here?
Yeah. Bet it big.
Folds.
Bet it big.
Chow. 10-6 suited.
Not too big, chow chow.
Well, he can't. I mean, how big can you go?
Calls.
What?
Rick calls.
I'm gonna have to raise this just out of principle. Yep. 1,000 more, boys.
Viffer raises to 1,800.
Basically a min raise.
Your aces? You want one bar?
How'd you know?
Chow calls.
All right, I'm gonna raise.
Another 1,000 on top.
Rick makes it 2,800.
Basically a min re-raise.
Your turn.
Viffer calls. Chow calls.
You guys are no fun whatsoever.
I should've.
3 players.
The final flop of the night is King, King, King. Where was that for Troy?
I don't know, but Viffer's caught it this time. He flopped quads.
Is that really king, king, king?
Yeah.
2,000.
Rick makes it 2,000 to go after Chow checks. Viffer smooth calls.
I never ever win one pot.
And Chow's had enough this week.
Yeah, it was a dry night for you. That's for sure. What do you want? Call the turn.
King.
3 of diamonds on the turn.
Check.
Rick checks. Viffer fires 3.
Viffer wants to get paid any way he can.
Well, he's dueling with the right guy. Rick raises to 8.
Rick's bluffed at many an inopportune moment this week. This is probably the worst.
Viffer over the top to 13,000.
Now I believe you. You're still full of but I fold.
Finally, a good fold.
I had that beat. Show me the other one. What was the last hand? Show me the other one.
Another stellar read for Rick.
Nice hand.
You gotta just call the turn there. Let him bomb it into you on the end.
A lot of experts at the table now that the hand's over.
Action folds to Viffer. 9-6 suited. Raises to 2,500. Ace-7 suited for Tony G. Repops to 7,000. The cannon folds, and Daniel's out.
Tony knows Viffer's got a super wide raising range and that he hates folding to 3-bets.
Viffer calls. The flop. 4-Jack-6. Viffer flops middle pair. Action on Tony, who checks. So does Viffer. Jack of clubs on the turn.
That shouldn't change much. We'll see if Tony wants to bet his ace high.
He does, betting 10,000.
Viffer knows Tony probably would have bet a jack already, so he just may want to get to cheap showdown at this point.
Viffer calls.
We'll have to see if Tony will keep firing on the river or if that call will stop him in his tracks.
The river, the king of diamonds.
That's going to be a scare card for both players. Let's see if Tony does indeed keep firing.
Nope, neither does Viffer.
Just don't show me 2 10s.
Viffer shows his 6s are good enough. Ace-Jack. Raise.
All right, Joe grabs the stack and lets a few fall off the bottom.
Yo, just like, whoa. There you go.
Viffer calls. Tony's out. The cannon. Suited one gapper folds. So does Daniel.
Canadians will sit this one out.
Viffer playing loose even for Viffer.
Joe, you should just give me this pot now because, like, I saved you a bunch of money before.
5 ace 5 trips for Viffer. Top pair for Joe.
We could see some money get into this pot.
Hashem checks.
Somehow Joe wisely doesn't c-bet.
Viffer checks as well. Slow playing. Queen of hearts on the turn. Hashem bets 1,500. Viffer quickly calls.
Viffer setting a trap for a big river bet.
7 of clubs.
That does complete a flush draw, but Joe hasn't really played it like he's got a flush draw.
He checks.
Playing very cautiously.
Viffer fires 6,500.
It's a pot-sized value bet. He kept it pretty reasonable in a small pot to give himself the best shot of Joe calling with top pair.
Joe calls. Viffer shows trips and trips up the champ.
Same old Viff.
Same old Viff. Nothing's changed.
Nothing's changed. Wakes up with a 10-5.
Wakes up with a 10-5.
I'm surprised he didn't 3-bet with a hand that good.
Is it unlimited straddle or do I have to make it 8?
You should have realized I was going to be frustrated.
Attention.
Wow.
Yeah.
My man. The cannon come out
I
fire.
mean, let's go ahead and get it in, fellas. I mean, let's, let's play this game, dude.
I like this guy.
Oh my gosh.
So action will start on Bobby instead. Deuce 8, he folds. Negrano out.
What's your issue?
Unreal. These kids come in here and they think they can just fold every
know,
hand.
right? It's
Like,
sick.
get the hell out of here.
Come here to just.
I mean, I'm tired with playing of all these 8
guys whose sentences just trail off.
Viffer raises to 2,400.
You gotta look.
Who, me?
He says I qualified. I put the 800 out.
The cannon defending his straddle.
Can't let you punk me all day.
5 ace 8.
Ain't no punk in the junk.
I googled that bet. Turns out, not a saying. He bets 4,000.
The cannon has made a pair. Let's see if he can take the heat from Pete.
Oh, he does qualify.
He qualifies and he calls.
Pre-flop, the call was questionable, but once you make a pair, you got to keep going.
Ace of diamonds on the turn.
Viffer's gritting his teeth at the thought of having to bet this again.
And he checks.
This is a close one for Gonzo. I'd probably check since there's not a ton of value in a bet, but if he does bet, it would protect his hand a bit.
And the cannon's going to bet it 9,000.
This actually merges his range a little bit, since typically on a board like this, your hand tends to be polarized. But Viffer's got no pair and no draw.
And he folds, and the cannon's going to pick up his first pot of the night. Ace Jack of hearts for Tony G. He raises, of course, to 1,500. Viffer makes the call. Cannon on the button. Folds. Sura's out. And Daniel's out. Viffer and Tony G will go heads up to the flop.
Viffer's made the call with Jack 7 de-ominated.
You're not kidding. He's really de-ominated now. 7 Jack Ace. Both players have made 2 pair. Tony G with top 2.
Tony G cold decks someone again with a bigger 2 pair. Wonder if you can call that an upper decker.
He bets 3,000 and Viffer quickly calls.
Viffer just calls knowing Tony will keep firing with worse.
King of spades on the turn.
Tony G still way out in front.
Bets 8,000.
If Viffer were thinking of raising the turn, he may be changing his mind now. Draws came in, more were created, and a bigger 2 pair is even more likely now.
Viffer calls. We're going to see a river card.
Love the belabored best hand side from Tony.
Deuce of diamonds on the river. And he bombs it. 30,000 from Tony G.
Classic Tony G river value overbet. More often than not, when Tony's bombed the river on the big game, he's had the winner. Still, I don't know if I could really blame Viffer for calling.
You want to trade a card?
This ain't a Yankee swap. That's how I ended up with my 3rd snuggie.
Off to call, probably.
Oh, God. If I called you, just promise not to give me the speech and turn the hand over.
Can't promise anything.
And Viffer calls. He's not going to like the news.
Just ace jack.
Everyone's doing that. Just aces up.
How does he
Ace king, you win. 3 7s.
Just an ace.
There's a lot of ways I can lose the pot.
2 pair. What about like 2 pair?
Yeah.
7, ace 7. You qualified?
Over to Sura. Couple of jacks.
He should be able to play this one. Call or re-raise would be fine.
Yeah, he's playing.
And he calls.
Look at this pot. I mean, this is tremendous.
Daniel folds.
I hope I have like a qualifying hand.
I didn't need much to have a qualifying hand.
Seaver folds. Ace, queen of diamonds for Tony G.
Certainly qualifying.
Calls.
I have a huge hand. But I'm forced to play. Like, I have to respect Viffer. What do you have behind you there?
Not much. I'm winning.
Oh, is that it?
That's it.
4 players to the flop. 6, 8, 8, and the Whiffer didn't whiff this time.
Whiffer flops trippers.
Tony G with the nut flush draw. He checks.
Viffer's pretty short going into this hand.
7,000.
But Viffer's in a great spot since he was the pre-flop aggressor and he connected with this board so huge.
Cannon's out.
Bobby Sura could be in trouble since 2 jacks will be the best hand often enough on this board. Then again, he never really was known for his J's.
He's singing now because he's winning.
And he calls 7,000.
Tony G probably can't fold. It's pretty tough to give Viffer credit for a hand, and he's unlikely to be drawing dead, though he may be concerned with what got Bobby Sura to open the purse strings. If the board weren't paired, this would probably be an auto check raise.
What a hand. What do you have there?
Little over 28.
He's got no orange chips there.
You took them all.
30, so it's like 36.
Didn't you hear Stapes? It's a little over 28.
Bobby Sura. What are you doing there in that hand? Quietly just calling?
Good question. I've been trying to figure it out myself.
He's got like 2 9s.
Basically.
You're too good at this game.
All right, I'm gonna drop it. This is a big laydown.
What are you doing here? I don't think I can condone this
You
plan.
could never imagine, but don't ever tell anyone.
Yeah.
Tony G has Scott fold for him.
Tony G makes a pretty tight laydown. We're gonna have to pull his Maniac card.
To the turn. 9 of hearts.
2 9s, I knew it.
You killed my action.
I'm all in.
Viffer's all in for over 28,000.
Oh, should have re-raised before the flop.
Smells like someone has
28-1.
jacks.
You got it.
Like
Someone has jacks, I think.
Now, Bobby's getting less than 2 to 1, and it's possible Viffer would do this with a draw, but he knows Bobby's been playing tighter than an Ed Hardy t-shirt.
Jack's good.
If Sura does call, Viffer will almost certainly double up.
I hate to see this one on TV, too.
Dylan, muck that hand.
Sura makes a good laydown.
In this case, tight is right.
We're gonna see it real soon, anyways.
Show us one card.
Do you want to see?
Sure. We're going to see it.
Here's what I'll tell you. I'll tell you the truth. You're either way ahead or way behind.
Not way ahead. How can jacks ever be way ahead?
He could be way ahead or way behind.
Your verbiage was definitely inaccurate.
All right, I'm not very educated.
English only at the table, sir. Seaver folds. Tony G, who raises. Viffer calls. Cannon's out. Sura's out.
Now we can switch cards. See, now I got position. We can go for the switches.
Viffer and Tony always trying to switch.
Uh-oh, no talking.
And no switching.
8 queen jack on the flop. Tony's made 2 pair, but Viffer's made a bigger 2 pair.
This exact thing happened last night, only Viffer was the one on the business end.
Wow.
Insta.
Tony bets and Viffer insta calls. Oh, 8 on the turn and Tony's filled up.
Tony G makes his date with an 8.
7,000 from Tony.
Viffer's smile may have faded a bit, but he probably still likes his hand.
And he's in trouble. He makes the call.
Viffer's going to need to hit a queen or a jack.
But it's a 10 of hearts on the river.
What have you got?
30, 40.
Tony wants it all.
25.
Makes it 25,000.
This bet is meant to induce Viffer to just stick it all in, and I think that would be a bigger possibility if it weren't for this board texture. There's a 4-card straight out there, trips, Broadway. Top 2 pair is basically a bluff catcher. No worse hand is ever value betting. And the only draw that missed is spades.
Still a tough spot for Viffer here. He is up against Tony G.
What you got there?
2 pair.
Not eights. I don't have 2 pair eights.
Yeah, I hope it's not slow rolling me.
Tony's trying everything he can to trick Viffer into calling.
And he lets it go.
Pretty solid fold from the Viffer.
Good for the game, showing a bluff.
So Tony G drags another pot, but not as big as he expected.
Showing bluffs is good for the game. Just saying.
Tony flopped it.
He flopped it and turned it.
Action on Tony G. Ace-8.
1200.
Raises to 12. And Viffer calls.
Viffer's dominated, but he's actually in position small to big.
2 players to the flop. 9, Ace-9, and Viffer is not dominated anymore. Flops trips.
Top pair versus trips. This is pretty unlucky blind versus blind.
Tony bets 2,000 and Viffer calls.
Playing it slow.
7 of clubs on the turn. Tony's still in real bad shape. He checks it. And Viffer checks. 8 of clubs on the river. Full house.
That 8 doesn't improve Tony's hand at all, but it does change the board texture quite a bit.
Tony's firing 6,000 into Viffer.
Viffer's filled up, but the club is going to kill some of his action.
The only real question now is how much will he raise?
WWDDR.
2 fisting it to 24,000.
There's plenty out there that could beat Tony.
That is not good.
Tony dumps his 3 pair. Viffer's going to take a decent sized pot.
If you had $2.5 billion or $4 billion, is your life changed at all?
Yeah, here's the difference. We're sitting at the poker table and we're talking, and there's a few guys with like 500 million, 600 million, and one guy that's like a multi-billionaire. And the one guy goes to the other one, the guy with 500, 600 million, he goes, well, what's the difference? And the billionaire goes, your yachts, you got your Picassos, you got all this, your art, your airplane's nicer and everything else.
Daniel folds, Seaver Jack 10, raises.
What, do you have a point to this story?
I do have a point to this story.
Huh? I've got like a gold-plated airplane.
The other guy goes, forget about that. He goes, you could get caught cheating on your wife more.
You can get caught cheating on your wife more?
It don't hurt as much.
Viffer in the cannon call.
Well,
what? That's silly.
Well, the way he really said it was not as
PG?
Yeah, I gave you the PG version of it.
Oh, so that's why the story sounded so weird, like watching Die Hard on cable. Yippee-ki-yay, monkey fooler.
2-6 ace rainbow on the flop. Cannon checks.
Cannon checks a gut shot.
Seaver checks. Viffer bets top pair. Cannon quickly calls with his gut shot.
Very loose call from the Cannon.
Seaver folds. The 2 guys with the most nicknames to the turn. King of spades.
Well, the Cannon's halfway to backdoor spades.
Cannon checks. Now Viffer slows down and checks.
Not sure why Viffer checked, maybe for deception.
6 of hearts misses the Cannon.
Check.
He checks.
Somehow the Cannon knows this isn't the best spot to try to make a play.
And Viffer bets out 15,000.
Which is almost twice the size of the pot, a huge overbet. And the Cannon's got nothing.
Hit that 6, huh? Bet with the 6 and hits it on the river.
Gonzo's got the second nut low. He's selling the Viffer on a tough laydown.
I believe it.
Cannon folds. And Viffer's going to drag a pot worth almost 24,000.
I could not have a 6 with that.
Sure you can. Jack 6 of clubs, very playable hand.
So I'm going to play every pot till I win a hand. I might lose everyone.
Viffer calls. And Sir's out.
But if you don't qualify, you got to fold.
Tony's good timing continues. He's not too far behind against Ducks, considering how bad his hand is.
Ace 4-9.
2,000.
Tony bets 2,000 and is quickly called.
By the way, I knew this was coming on the side.
Who's the favorite now?
I have no idea.
Not you, not you, not you.
Queen of clubs on the turn. Check, check.
Pretty sure Gonzo's going to win this hand somehow.
Good one.
Jack of hearts on the river.
The way it's going, I'm pretty sure you're going to find a way.
Tony checks and Viffer bets 4,000 quickly.
No, 10 deuce didn't come in.
And deuce didn't come. I wasn't bluffing.
Tony folds.
You got a 4-5?
Oh my God. Why couldn't I bet the river?
10-8 of clubs for Seaver.
This hand's fine to play on the button.
Raises to 1,200. Tony G. No, thank you. Viffer. Ace-3 offsuit. Re-raises to 3,400.
Viffer knows Scott's button range is pretty wide and that he could be steaming.
Not the answer call.
And Seaver calls.
Not quite insta. Daniel's had enough.
Now I gotta look.
He already looked.
Tricky, tricky. Seaver v. Viffer to the flop. Say that 5 times fast.
I will not.
7 deuce tray on the flop, and Viffer makes middle pair.
So I played with Scott Seaver a couple times, right? When he's winning, he owns, right? It's so different watching him now because he's losing, but he's keeping it together. He's just, you know, this is the reality of poker. Every human, after a while, you keep getting pipped like that. It's like, ugh.
Yeah, I can tell he's like
I try to be
when
calm.
when you win the pot.
Yeah, everyone tries to be cool, whatever, but eventually you're like, ugh.
I've seen you get before.
You think? Yeah. No, I get because nobody wants to lose.
Things that make you go, ugh.
Viffer checks.
Viffer opts not to bet, probably doesn't want to get raised with a pair of trays.
And Seaver checks to the turn. Queen of clubs.
Viffer doesn't seem to mind the queen.
Nope, his trays are worth 5,000 now. And Seaver's gonna fold. Viffer's gonna take a pot worth a little over 12,000. Action on Viffer. The hammer, 7 deuces spades.
Viffer looking like the cat that ate the canary.
This is the hand I wanted.
He raises it to 2,500.
Unbelievable.
We'll see if this is the hand you wanted.
Action folds around to Daniel. King 3. Folds. Seaver.
You didn't want this one either.
Tony G knows every friggin' time.
You didn't want this one
every
either.
time, Tony, you know. You could have had this hand.
Deuce 5?
Deuce 7.
Deuce 7.
You could have. See, I turned a natural. It's not deuce 7, it's a natural 9.
More like a 9mm. He robs him there.
See, it's all a matter of perspective. Only needed 2 cards.
Yeah. In that position?
And if my hand was suited, I'd have
But
played a
here's what I'll do.
dominated hand.
I don't have the same feeling this time, so we could trade.
Okay, let's trade.
I don't know if we can, though.
Okay, let's do a 3-way swap.
Let's just all shuffle our 3 cards up.
And then just pick 2.
And pick 2?
We choose the cards we want to play with.
Never mind that whole swap deal.
Viffer with aces. Raises again to 2,500.
Maybe he can start getting out of that hole.
Sura folds, then the cannon.
No, not at all.
Daniel's out. Action now on Scott Seaver. Queen 9 of clubs.
Pretty standard hand to defend your blind with.
He wants it all.
Calls. Now to Tony G, who straddled.
Tony's getting better than 3-1.
King 8 of clubs. Calls.
Now, do you guys want to switch the cards around?
Yeah.
No, thank you.
I'm happy to switch 1 each.
To the flop. 10 deuce queen all diamonds. Seaver hits top pair. Check, check.
Let's see if I qualify. Don't qualify.
I love Viffer.
Viffer checks. Jack of spades on the turn.
Not the card Viffer wanted to see.
Seaver checks again. Tony checks.
All right.
And Viffer says, all right, we'll see a river. 10 of clubs.
Viffer's taking a very passive line, so Scott probably thinks he has the best hand.
Seaver going for some chips here. Bets 1,500. That's enough to get Tony out.
Don't think Viffer can raise.
You're getting called at least. But you're so sick enough to raise and oh wait, I almost did throw in the 5,500. I call.
Queen.
Just calls.
No good.
Pipped again.
I'm so sick.
Glad I checked it already straight.
Action on Andrew Roble. Queen Jack. Raises to 1,400. Viffer, suited ace, calls to the cannon.
Where'd you go to college again? Florida State.
That's right. That's right.
Cannon's out over to Sura. Pocket threes.
Charlie Ward, Sam Cassell.
Yeah.
That team made the Elite 8 in the 93 NCAA tournament. Sura's called with 2 threes, and Negrano's in with King Queen. 10-3 for Scott Seaver. He folds.
Played 7 hands in a row. Had to let one go.
Roble seems real impressed.
4-way action to the flop. 6-3 king, 2 clubs. Sura's made a set here. Daniel's flop top pair, and Viffer with the nut flush draw. Negrano checks. Roble checks.
Good time to bet the come.
And he does, 3,000.
Bobby would do well to raise and start building a pot while he's got the best hand. In the NBA, Bobby shot 33% from three-point land, 3-3-3, set of threes, total glitch in the matrix.
Facing a $3,000 bet.
Raise.
Announces raise. He raises to 16,000.
Viffer knows he can't be drawing dead, but he's probably not in good shape.
Now over to Daniel.
16's a bet.
And Daniel cold calls. Robles out. Action back on Viffer.
Now, worst case scenario for Viffer, which it is, he's getting 25% equity against a set, which isn't that bad. And he's super short.
I'm all in.
He's all in for 43,200, and now the action's back on Bobby Sura.
Bobby's only behind the kings and sixes. He's getting almost exactly 3 to... What am I saying? He has to call.
Call.
And Bobby does make the call.
It should be a pretty clear fold for Daniel at this point.
What?
What do we got?
Huh?
What do we got?
Oh, I have a something.
Just top pair.
Your most likely hand here is 3 sixes. Yeah. 3 sixes. The king high flush draw. Who has that? That's you, right? You do, if you have kings and a flush draw, you're in.
Actually, I think he's...
And you got 3 sixes based on your pause time. So I guess since I can't beat 3 sixes,
Daniel hasn't put anyone on anything that should make him want to call.
Huh? Weird.
Daniel folds.
I have the flush draw.
Yeah, I know
I
that.
hope you have
Threes.
You have 3 threes?
Good luck.
Good luck.
Let's see what we got, gentlemen.
I have the ace-7 of clubs.
They're going to run it once.
Viffer's going to need to hit a club or a running 4-5 for a straight, or he will be felted.
And if Bobby can win this hand, he'll be back in the positive. To the turn. 6 of diamonds, full boat for Bobby Sura.
It's over.
Full house.
I can't win. Gentlemen, I get to go home. I should have left with Tony G. Loose cannon.
See you, Viv. Viffer. Always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure, man.
But you, my man, I got to shake your hand. For real?
Appreciate it.
You done outplayed us all. Good for you.
Appreciate it, man.
Take it easy, guys.
Later, Viv.
Classy exit.